they did surprisingly well, and we always did think that they'd never get off their honeymoon, you know. What we always used to say is they'll never get off their honeymoon. But then Larry unfortunately got influenced by people badly. It resulted in his taking his life. And with that second shock, on top of the brain cancer, and it's a real bad memory and seizure results. Why, it's been really tough on Cindy, but she's been involved in from the time of her brain cancer diagnosis, which was in February of '77, and here it is now, '07. That's 30 years of living with brain cancer, and Larry, why, she's been a widow for 16, 17 years since Larry used a handgun to depart this life. Yeah, splendid girl in early times, most promising, but her brain isn't like it once was after having gone through extremely heavy amount of radiation for cancer. And
I imagine that there's damage when she has her seizures too.
And on the seizures, yeah. And real bad potent medicine too that hasn't helped her too much, I think. Yeah, life sometimes deals decks that aren't so good. Considering the life that she's been and the problems that she's been dealt with, I guess you'd have to say that she's handled them amazingly well, even though there's problems. And it's irritating especially for her, and it's for us too, to have these problems continue.
Well, you and Mom, I know, have done all you can to try to be a help to her.
But she's always maintained powerful testimony to the church and loyalty to us and family, and a substantial amount of happiness, you know, up till just before Larry departed this life. So she's had good times and not so good times.
So how about Bart? He said that you had a couple of short stories that you wanted to share about him.
I did write these up in my history.
Mm-hmm. There's a plug for those of you watching to read Dad's history.
Mm-hmm. But at the time I had went out deer hunting and killed a 2-point buck, and I had it upside down in our carport. That was before we built the garage and the sunken dining room there. And I guess he was either 6 or 7, Bart was. And I was nailing up panels in the basement, you know, to finish the basement off. And while I was nailing there, why, he came in and he said, "Daddy, does Jesus love deers?" Well, I knew right then I was in trouble. But I said, "Well, yeah, I'm sure he does." I nailed a few more nails. All at once, he said, "Why'd you kill him for it then?" Well, I said, "I don't kill him just for sport or anything like that." I says, "We kill him because we use the meat, we bottle it." I said, "All my life, why, most all the meat that we had, why, we got from bucks that my dad killed and that we bottled and made into hamburger and used in the winter time for something to eat." But but if you don't eat, why, you just die is all. So you must have something to eat. He thought a minute, and I pounded a few more nails. And, "Well," he says, "we got oranges." We just bought a case of oranges, and he figured we could eat without having to kill a buck like that. Which is, because after that I didn't do a whole lot more deer hunting.
How old was Bart?
6 or 7. And on another occasion, why, he came up out of the blue and he says, "Daddy, does everybody turn into skeletons?" No, that's a quite insightful question. Because there's some people that don't even realize that you do, most people. Because, of course, the skeleton part of the body is a lot harder and more resistant to changes with temperature and moisture and age, you know, than the soft parts of the flesh parts of the body. So you end up with skeletons with most people. And Bart realized this, but kids his age didn't, and even some adults don't. I said, "Well, look, Bart," I said, "Jesus made us like we are now, right?" He said, "Yes." I said, "That's how come we are like we are, is because Jesus made us that way." Now I said, if he can make us that way, and if we all decay, you know, our bodies decay and that, first the softer parts of our body, the flesh and all, and then later the skeleton also. I said, if he can make us once that way, don't you think he can do it again? And he said, "Well, yeah, sure." And I said, "Only this time," I said, "he could make us so that we wouldn't be subject to sickness and old age and and so that our bodies would stay, continually stay young and not deteriorate.
Oh, you did? How much were they?
I said, you believe that? And he said, I do.
$5 and something, or $9.97,
Perfectly.
something like that.
Happy with the answers.
That's cool.
Very,
They run about
very,
50 cents, they're 48 and almost 49 cents a piece. Plus
So leaving them.
very much satisfied with the discussion, But I thought to myself, my golly, now that's some insight.
Well, we've talked a little bit about Barton. Maybe there's some people that are going to watch this video that are going to be grandchildren, great-grandchildren that won't really know the story about how we lost Bart. So maybe you could briefly tell about how we lost Bart.
Mm-hmm. Well, those two.
Once again, it's written up in your history, and so it can be read in detail.
Yeah, those two things stand out with Bart. He's generally a really easily manageable kid, and was responsible and helpful and all these things. Good kid. But didn't live long enough to bloom out to show what eventually he would do. I don't think he was as brilliant as Cindy was originally, or they. But he wasn't any slouch either.
So the day that we lost him, we were at the lake.
Yeah.
And what lake was it?
And what?
What was the name of the lake?
Sandwash Reservoir.
And that's located.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Trish.
Mm-hmm. That was not too far from where my dad lived, out in Duchesne area.
And from what I recall, we were all gonna. You and Stan invited all of us kids to go get ice cream.
Yeah, there were a whole bunch of them, and
so yeah, we all climbed into the camper.
mm-hmm.
And from my recollection, being in the camper, he was sitting on the floor. And when all I knew is that at one point, I guess the camper came to a stop, and then when it went again,